pills, but I do know what it's like to be a witness to kills. Mama told me she loved me, I'm thinking this isn't real.
I'm gonna stop it right there. Sorry.
Hi guys, it's Pastor Jordan, and this time I'm here with my mom. Say hi, Mom.
Hi.
And today, we're going to react to something different, but I think that it is something that's really important, and I think that it's something that we both have a lot to speak into. And so today we're reacting to NF, and we're reacting to his song called How Could You Leave Us? And so the reason I feel like we should react to this song is because my mom was addicted to drugs for like 13 years.
Yes.
And so now she's been sober for 8 years, but this song is like really deep to me and to her too. And so, when did you start doing drugs?
I started when I was, heavy drugs when I was 21.
When did you have me?
I had you when I was 22.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable telling them what drug you were addicted to?
Yes, I was addicted to cocaine.
Okay. Alright. So now we're going to listen to the song, and either I'll pause it or she'll pause it when we have something to say, but I'm really excited for this. Ready?
Yeah.
How could you leave so unexpected? We waited for you, but you just left us. We needed you, I needed you. Yo, I don't know what it's like to be addicted to pills, but I do know what it's like to be a witness to kills. Mama told me she loved me, I'm thinking this isn't real.
I'm gonna stop it right there. Sorry. That where he says that he doesn't believe that she loves him is so not true. She loved him. She loved him with all her heart, and her addiction was just way bigger than her. It wasn't that she loved the drugs more or she loved herself more. She loved her kids with all her heart. Her addiction was so big that she couldn't control it.
I get that. I think something that happens is, as a kid, you only have your eyes on yourself, and you're too young to understand the gravity of an addiction, and a heavy addiction. It's something that it doesn't matter how much you love somebody, it can still be so difficult to stop. I remember being a little kid and thinking the same thing, like, well, she said she was going to be here, but she wasn't. Or she says she loves me, but it doesn't always feel that way. But I was never aware, or I was never understanding of the fact that my mom was struggling with something so much bigger.
Yeah, I think people think that a person addicted to drugs is off at parties having a great time, and that is not the case.
Really, you're busy hating yourself.
Yeah, and you're hiding and you're numbing pain.
I think of you when I get a whiff of that cigarette smell, yeah. Welcome to the bottom of hell. They say pain is a prison, let me out of my cell. You say you proud of me, but you don't know me that well. Sit in my room, tears running down my face, and I yell into my pillowcases. Say you coming to get us, then call a minute later just to tell us you're not. I'm humiliated.
I feel like that situation was something that we dealt with a lot.
You did. And a lot of the time, the promises that I made to both you and your sister, I had every intention of keeping them. But the addiction, like I said, is bigger than what you can control. And where he says you're in a prison cell, that is the best description of an addiction I can think, because it is a dark, dark place, and it is a prison.
For us, I think it was really hard because you were raising us on your own. And so not only are you addicted to drugs, but you're also trying to be a good mom. And so you are genuine when you say, hey, I'm going to come get you, or I'm going to do this with you, or I'm going to buy you this. Because you're trying to be a good mom, and you're trying to do it on your own. But then you know, either you're struggling and you want to go get some drugs right then, or then we're leaving with you to go somewhere else instead of where we said. But it's not because you didn't care, it's just because you couldn't beat that. But that situation is something that we dealt with a lot, where you would really be trying, but in my eyes it was you were building me up to let me down, and I wasn't understanding because I was a kid. And I think that's something like this song doesn't capture, is that it's so tough for the kid, but it's also damaging to the parent. You've been sober for 8 years, but this is something that you still struggle with a lot.
Guilt.
Yeah.
Because I think back to those things, and
Just leave it.
the very thing that I was running from would like draw me to the drugs and the pain.
What do you mean?
Because I would let you down, and because I would hurt you guys so many times and make promises that I couldn't keep, and the things that I did, like pawning things and breaking promises, would drive me to want to do drugs.
Even more.
So I wouldn't have to think about it, and I wouldn't have to feel, because I felt like I was spinning, and if I stopped to feel, the pain would be so overwhelming, it would kill me, is how I felt.
It's like a cycle. You
Yeah.
go do it, and then because it let us down and because it hurt us, it would drive you to go do it again. Because
Yes.
hurting us hurt you.
And it hurt me. I cried out to God every night. Every night I prayed and I begged God to take this from me. And I can't explain, and I don't think people really understand unless they're an addict. It is bigger than you. It is so much bigger than you. You have no say. You have no say in the matter.
Yeah, you really are a slave.
Yeah.
I'm in a room with a parent that I don't barely know. Some lady in the corner watching us while she's taking notes. I don't get it, Mom. Don't you wanna watch your babies grow? I guess pills are more important. All you have to say is no. But you won't do it, will you? You gon' keep popping till them pills kill you. I know you're gone, but I can still feel you.
I understand. Now that I'm older, I understand that you couldn't stop yourself.
No.
But growing up, that was one of the hardest things. I still think that I struggle with my worth now because one parent left and then the other one was addicted to drugs. And I think that's the same story for a lot of kids. And I know that I've met a lot of teenagers who have stories similar to mine and to Tori's. But it leaves you feeling like you're not worth anything. Like he's saying, like, I understand that struggle because you're thinking, well, where am I? And you understand that struggle too because of your parents.
Yeah.
And it cycles down. But I understand that struggle of not knowing or feeling my worth because the people who are supposed to give it to me were struggling with their own things. And something that you don't realize it till you're older, but sometimes your parents grew up the same way that you did. And so it's almost like, how can I fault my mom when her parents did the same thing to her? What do you think?
I think that I wish that it would have been as simple as no. You and your sister have both heard me say 1,000 times that why did it have to take 13 years? For the first half of those 13 years, I was building up an addiction. And for the second half of those 13 years, I was desperately trying to claw my way out. And I couldn't. And it was 6 years, 7 years of relapsing, of continuing to try and get up and fight it, and crying out to God nightly, and even being frustrated with God and saying, why haven't you taken this yet?
So why didn't you give up? Why didn't you give up?
Because of you guys, because of God, because of me because of knowing who I was before I was on drugs and knowing who I was when I walked with Christ before. And I used to ask God, don't you remember the times that I'd sit in bed and read my Bible? I want to be that person again, but I didn't even know who she was. I didn't even know how to find her. I was this weak slave to these drugs, and I had no idea how to do it, but I just kept trying. And so that's the advice I could give to somebody, is definitely don't ever stop trying until you're there, because you're going to fail. You're going to fall on your face and fail multiple times before it sticks. And definitely there's no way I could have done it without God. There's absolutely no way, because it was way bigger than me. And even with God, I had to keep getting up and fighting the fight again. And it's very hard. It's something that, it's a prison cell and a darkness in my life that I never want to go back to, ever.
Something that I remember, and you talked about it a little bit, but like, it's almost like having two different moms. Like, I remember the mom who was on drugs, and she's very different from the mom that you are now. And not even just the mom, but the person. Like, the person that you were on drugs is literally a different person than the person you are today. If you were to go back to drugs or to be that person again, I would know her differently than I know you. It's 180 degrees. And I think sometimes that can be hard as a kid or as a teenager or as a child with a parent who's addicted to drugs, is you are being parented or you're knowing somebody who isn't really your mom or your dad. And that can be really tough.
It was also very hard for you guys to accept me as a sober mom and a mom. And trying to now be a part of your life and be involved in it was hard for me. I didn't know how to do it. I think we all learned together through the years how to do it. And there's people now who don't even believe me when I say I was addicted to drugs. And if they would have known me back then, those people can't believe that I'm sober. Mm-hmm. So it is definitely two people.
Nice.
Why would you leave us? Why would you leave us? How could you leave us? How could you leave us? Why would you leave us? I got this picture in my room and it kills me, but I don't need a picture of my mom, I need the real thing. Now a relationship is something we won't ever have, but why do I feel like I lost something that I never had? You should have been there when I graduated, told me you love me and congratulations. Instead you left us at the window waiting. Where you at, mom? We're too young to understand. Where you at, huh? Yeah, I know them drugs that got you held captive. I can see it in your eyes, they got your mind captured. Some say it's fun to get the high, but I am not laughing. And what you don't realize and what you're not grasping, that I was nothing but a kid who couldn't understand it. I ain't gonna say that I forgive you, cause it hasn't.
I have to say again, from the mom's point of view, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
She knows she's destroying her life and the life of her kids. And those images kill me, because that was the age that you guys were when I was all messed up. And thank God we're where we are now and we got some time, but I can never get that time back. I can never get you guys back from there. And for that, I'm sorry. And that's where the guilt kicks in, and that's where I have to turn to God again, because I can't do that.
It can be easier for other people to forgive you than for you to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
It can be a lot easier even for me growing up with that. But I forgive you, and I'm not angry at you, and I don't hold it over you, but I can still see where it is really weighing on your heart.
It just hurts, because I can never get you guys back when you were little like that. And I wish that I could be who I am now for both of you back then too.
And I see where he's talking about like all these events that she missed and these things that they're so excited for, and usually those are events that are a graduation or a football game or things like that. Those things are what a child and a parent can bond over. And when a child begins to pursue things that are a part of them, and they begin to find themselves, and the parent isn't a part of that. He'll talk about it right now too, but that can be so hard, because he talks about how how can I miss something that I never had? Because God created us to have parents who take care of us. The Bible says that we learn to trust God at the breast, meaning as babies, we start to learn to trust God by the way we learn to trust our parents. And so it can be really hard. Even I only know a lot of people who have bad issues with their parents who think of God the same way. The way that you parent your child is a direct reflection of a lot of the ways they're going to view God. And it doesn't always have to be that way, and you can always break the cycle. But he talks about it, and it's very true. You learn not to trust from your parent, or you learn to trust from your parent. And you get that too because of yours, but
I thought that maybe I'd feel better as time passes. If you really cared for me the way you acting, why would you leave us? Why would you leave us? How could you leave us? How could you leave us? Why would you leave us? Our last conversation, you and I sat in the living room, talking about my music, and I brought you something to listen to. You started crying, telling me this isn't you. A couple weeks later, guess you were singing a different tune. You took them pills for the last time, didn't you? They took you from us once, I guess they came back to finish you. Crying my eyes out in the studio is difficult. Music is the only place that I can go to speak to you. It took everything inside of me not to scream at your funeral. Sitting in my chair, that person talking was pitiful. I wish you were here, mama, but every time I picture you, all I feel is pain. I hate the way I remember you. They found you on the floor, I could tell you felt hollow. Gave everything you had, plus your life to them pill bottles. You gave everything you had, plus your life to them pill bottles. Don't know if you hear me or not, but if you're still watching, why?
you're not gone, but I know people with parents who are gone because of this, and you have friends who are gone who left behind little kids for the same reason, with the same destructive imagery of somebody laying on the ground with a needle sticking out of their arm, or because they couldn't shake that addiction, and it killed them. What do you think?
I think that you alone as a person cannot shake that addiction. And God is the only way that I was able to do it. And I always considered myself a strong person until I became an addict. And then I was weak. And God gave me my strength back. But it is a battle, and it is a fight. And it's not like, I'm done doing drugs and you're done. It doesn't work that way. It is a constant struggle until it sticks. And then it's like a switch is flipped. And once that switch is flipped, it's better. And you go through hurdles, and life tends to throw curveballs at you at the time that you're trying to become sober. And you think that you should be sheltered from everything, and that's not the way it happened for us. Everything came at me while I was in that first year of sobriety, and you just have to keep going. But there is no way that I could have done it without God and leaning on God for strength. Absolutely no way.
I remember when I moved back, and you were on the verge of almost being done, but you were still relapsing. And I remember being so angry at you because I thought that you were just, you were still a drug addict. In my mind, you were still addicted. And so I felt lied to, but I also felt like you had told me that you were going to, change and be this great mom, and you were going to start being the mom that you were supposed to be. And when I came back, I couldn't stay with you.
Remember.
But the times that I was with you, we were going to get drugs. And I knew where we were going because when we were smaller, we would leave at like 3, 2 in the morning on school nights.
Mm-hmm.
And you would say, well, we're just going to meet a friend, or we're going to pick up money. And so now, like, once that time had come around again, I could tell what you were still doing. It was, and I was still only like 12, but I knew what was going on. And I remember being so mad. And already at 12 years old, I was already so angry at you because I was feeling the same way that he was. But at the same time, you were also angry at yourself. You were also hating yourself for falling down on your face again.
Mm-hmm.
And the picking yourself back up can be one of the hardest things to do.
The words that affected me most were from Gma. And she told me, so what? You relapsed. Doesn't mean you're a drug addict. It means you messed up. Get up, brush yourself off, and don't do it again. And I don't know why. It stuck. Because I always felt like when I relapsed, I'm just a drug addict. I'm never going to quit. And her saying that just stuck. And that was the last time that I ever relapsed.
Sometimes, and I think a lot of people get this way, but they let this addiction or they let this struggle, regardless of what you're addicted to, they hide it. They hide from everybody. They shut themselves off from other people. But the moment that you were able to quit is the moment that you were surrounded by other people who were encouraging you enough to quit. You had people in your life before that, but when Aaron, who is your husband now, and his mom came around and were there for you and could be real with you because they knew what that was like. It wasn't just a parent or somebody else telling you need to quit because you're a drug addict, but it was somebody who had walked that path and knew what it was like to be addicted to drugs, who could talk to you and support you. Community is really important, and God says it in the Bible. It's the same thing as that fellowship or growing close to somebody or opening up to somebody is the prescription to getting off of drugs. It's the way that you do it is connecting to other people. Your sin or your struggle can be really big in the dark, but if you drag it out into the light with other people, it's easier to overcome.
I agree. I have since then given that advice. If you're addicted, be honest. Be totally honest. Admit the things that you've done. And they say the first step is admitting you have a problem, and it is. And it's also great to have people who hold you accountable. Because when I told Gma and Aaron I couldn't go get my paycheck by myself because that was one of my triggers. They hold you accountable. They know the signs to look for. They know the questions to ask you. They don't let you be alone. They don't let you shut everyone off. So definitely be honest to the people around you.
And that was something that you could do with Grammy, your mom, or with other people, is you could kind of pull the wool over their eyes and get away with it. But with Aaron and his mom,
right,
you couldn't, because you can't be doing that because I know what you're really up to.
They know. It's like when Matt, my cousin, who's now sober also, he came to live with us, and he couldn't pull the wool over my eyes or your guys or Aaron's like he could with his mom, because we know. And he knew he had to be sober once he moved in. And so it's smart to surround yourself.
Yeah, if you put yourself in a situation where you can't, you're already better off. And I know for me too, like growing up the way that we did, when I go to teen camps or I go to other conferences and stuff, it's so easy for me to spot out the kids who have been dealing with the same thing, who are either using drugs or who have parents who are. And those are usually the people that I end up speaking with, because that's where God uses my own testimony. But if somebody's using drugs, I can almost always pick it out.
Why would you leave us? Why would you leave us? How could you leave us? How could you leave us? Why would you leave us? Sometimes I think about things like You know, when I have kids and like, you won't be there, you know. You won't be there for any of that. I'll never get to see you again. Sometimes I wish I would have just called you. I wish I would have just picked up the phone. But you were here. I mean, you should have been there for us. You should have been here. Pills got you right. And pills got you right. I wish you were here.
All I can say there is I thank God every day that that's not us. And when I had quit doing drugs is when I found out I had blood pressure of 181 over 118. I could have stroked out at any time. And when I used, I was a binge user. It was 2-3 days at a time without stopping until my body just gave out. And then I'd be good for like a week, and then I'd do the same thing, and it could have easily, so easily happened.
That's one of the most dangerous ways to do it. Mm-hmm. So I want to kind of like address his situation though, because we are blessed and we are. I remember when I first heard this song, I was really like, my heart was really touched and it was really heavy because I was aware of the fact that this could have been me. But say it had been, say you had died, what's the one thing that you would have wanted me to know?
That I loved you every step of the way. I was just caught up, like chained, caught up. It was not something that, oh, I'm chained because it's so fun, it draws me in. That's not how it was. It literally controlled me. I mean, I was shackled and chained to my addiction, and I had no control. And I loved you guys every step of the way, and I was trying. I know you guys didn't see it then, you know, maybe even you don't see it now, but I was trying. When I would take you to church, Tori, when I was hanging out with different people, you were gone. That was absolutely killing me. I'm sorry would definitely be something that I would want you guys to know, and that I loved you. I did love you. I just was caught up in something that was bigger than me. That's what I would want to say.
I think something, and I run into it a lot, is that kids have issues with their parents, or their parents are addicted to something. And it can be other things too. It could be alcohol, or it could be, I know kids that are just frustrated because their parents won't stop seeing people, or you know, all these parents that are caught up in different vices for various reasons, but most of the time it's because of some hurt in their own life. But something that I always want them to know is that their parents do care, but they're most likely just caught up in something that they can't get out of, like you're saying. But also to not just hate their parent, but to try to understand. And I understood more than most kids, because when I was only like 9, you were already telling me that you were addicted to drugs. I was in 4th grade.
Because I was on that second half of trying to quit.
Yeah. And I remember the night that she told me, and I didn't understand it. But growing up, knowing that, it was a lot easier for me to understand why things were the way that they were. And that didn't mean that I was understanding of you.
Right.
But now that you know, that Jesus has come into my life and given me empathy for other people, and shown me to look at other people instead of myself, I see that, you know, regardless of what you were doing, you were just as much in a struggle as I was. Mm-hmm. Your life wasn't any easier than mine was.
No, it wasn't easy, but it still doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
You were the kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was the adult. It doesn't make it right. To say I'm struggling, so I need to abuse
Just deal
drugs.
with it.
I mean, now through sober eyes, I see that. It's just that when you initially start, that's where you have the control.
Yeah.
Once you get in there, you don't have any say anymore. It's so hard to get out.
You're right. It doesn't make it okay for a parent to do that. It doesn't make it okay for a parent to be in that situation. But growing up that way, like, you either deal with it, or most likely you end up becoming exactly what your parent was before you. Like, it was great that you got off drugs, but that didn't mean that it was over. I had to deal with that on my own terms too. I had to be big enough and grown enough as a kid to know, okay, well, regardless of what my parents doing, because you got it straight, but that doesn't mean that my other parent did. And there are kids and there are teens who I've met that their parents don't get it straight. There are people like NF, and their parents don't get it straight. But you either end the cycle or you continue the cycle. And that was one of the first things that I learned when I was coming into a relationship with Jesus, is I was told, regardless of what your parents did, you can either end the cycle or not. And ending the cycle means choosing to live a different way. And the only way to do that is through Jesus and the Holy Spirit. Thanks a lot for watching this with me and talking with me.
You're welcome.
I love you.
I love you too. And
Thanks.
I love you too, Tori.
Thanks for watching, guys, and like this video, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you think, and if you want my mom to react to anything else, maybe she will. Thanks.
Probably not.
Thanks.